Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Attention all husbands. All husbands. How many of you honestly now, have heard your wife say this? There's no need to repeat yourself. I ignored you just fine the first time. I'm in trouble. Calls, good morning. Yes, sirree. Here we go with Kate Smith. God bless you. And God bless America. We need a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance right now. And a good morning to you and yours, and doggone, it's wet outside, isn't it? Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. Also, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My friend, Jerry, thank you so much for calling in. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, sir.
You have a wonderful day, too, and may the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
All right. Thank you so much. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by our friends at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hebron. Easy to find. They're right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. And they've got the best of tools and equipment for rental for any job you're trying to get done. Now, there's a lot of spring projects. One of them might be building an ark, I don't know. But you might get a hold of them today. And if you have questions about what equipment you do need, they can help you. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental, 678-3122. Here's the weather.
Finally hitting midweek, and we are still expecting some more precipitation as we make our way towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Expecting scattered showers off and on throughout the day. Thunderstorms are a possibility this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. Looking at a high of 57 today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Partly sunny, at least for part of the day tomorrow. Then by tomorrow afternoon, maybe some rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 62. 40% chance of rain showers for tomorrow night with a low of 43 as we hit Friday. Again, slight chance of rain showers, about a 40% chance. Expecting a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40, and then 30% chance of rain showers for Saturday and a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my. It sounds wet for the next couple of days. Our thanks go out to Roger and the crew at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hebron, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. K&R Rental, don't forget, 678-3122. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I also got to remind everybody about our dear friends that basically when we started, they came right on board with us, and we appreciate them. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They've been in business for over 6 decades. Yes, a long time with the greatest of expert people, knowledgeable people, helping you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Remember, Ramsey Heating and Electric, open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
We've got millions of people trying to cross the border, and many of them have gotten there already. We've got a Democratic Party who's totally ignoring the thousands and thousands of people that are pouring across our border. And for what reason? To get even with one person. They're ignoring thousands and thousands of destructive people that are coming into this country.
I cannot argue with you. I have to agree with you, and I absolutely am. I'm at my wit's end of trying to figure out why we, the American people, are not standing up and saying enough is enough, and demanding that this situation stop, and the border is going to be a sacred thing. We're not going to let anybody in or through unless they go through the proper channels. But right now, our Border Patrol is so overworked and overwrought. This morning, I heard a report at 4:15, and they were saying they got to let them in. They have nowhere to go with them, and many are just being let in to roam the United States and take up residence wherever they please at your and my expense.
Closing of the border is the right thing to do because this will be a temporary problem. Leaving the border open, this is going to be permanent destruction for our country. And that's exactly how I feel, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people feel the same way.
Why do you suppose that is such a earth-shattering statement, and people go, oh, come on? They're expecting over 1 million illegals to come into this country this year. This year! Over 100,000 a month. And I just don't understand what's the matter with the American public. How are we going to afford this invasion? How are we going to support their kids in the schools? We don't know about their health with vaccinations and all the diseases. We don't know about what their plans are. Let me just share this with you, and I don't know if you saw this on television or not, Tony, but a former gang member, I believe it was with MS-13. I am not going to say with certainty, but I know he was a former gang member and one of the leaders that had crossed our border illegally a couple of years ago, saw the light, quit the gang, started with a good life of going around and helping other people. He said, you've got to stop the border infiltration and invasion, because he said there are huge pockets of MS-13 gang members and other gangs that are coming in illegally and setting up their headquarters here in the United States. How can we be this dumb?
Well, we've got the terrorist training camps, and I'll bet you a lot of them that across the border are in there with the Muslim terrorists waiting to strike when the time is right.
I agree.
We're going to get hit all at one time in many sections of this country, and law enforcement is going to be overwhelmed.
All the more reason to remember that you have a Second Amendment, and I urge people to exercise it. Thank you, Tony.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody about the 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale coming up at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. It starts next week, April 11th through the 14th. Don't miss it up in Salmon, Idaho. Fred Snook is the man. He's going to be on our program tomorrow, as a matter of fact, talking about this great, big horse sale and mule sale. It's not just the sales. It's the absolute happenings up there, from all kinds of wolf howling contests and Calcuttas, Dutch oven dinners. Oh, it's just exciting and a lot of fun for you and your family. 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds, April 11th through the 13th. Don't you miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Bob Alverson with the Golden Heritage Senior Center in Burley.
Yes.
I would just like to let everybody know that we are having our annual chili and dessert cook-off on April 27th from 3 to 6 here at the Golden Heritage Senior Center on Overland Avenue. It's open to the public. We encourage people that would like to participate with their chilies and desserts. There's no charge for the participants. We do ask a $5 donation for people who come in to sample the chilies, but they will also get to be our judges. And then we are giving prizes out to the top at least 2 chilies and 2 desserts.
All right, Bob. What happened to Joe this morning? Did he sleep in?
No, he's going to be calling you pretty soon, too.
Well, I've got a room for just a few, but not everybody. But thank you. I appreciate your call this morning.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Have a good day. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, too, about our dear friends, and they are the best place to go eat. I guarantee it. You're going to love it, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's, of course, our friends at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thomas, great guy. And all the people that work for him, very, very astute at serving you to have a great dining experience. Absolutely. 611 North Overland and Burley, like I said, anytime, all the time, at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see them today. And they also have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You stop in and see them today. Real quick before I continue on with more, and I want your calls this morning, I want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, I mean, boy, they are good at what they do. And I know because firsthand, they've helped me. Don't forget to call, make an appointment to help you get back to being you, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Really, really good people. You know, talking about this border invasion, and don't anybody call me and act like they had on the news this morning, the Democrats sitting there going, oh, it's all trumped up. It's not an invasion. Oh, it's not a crisis. I know people that live down there. I know people that live on the borders in Texas and Arizona, etc. I know them personally, and I've called them, and they said, we don't know what to do. We are afraid to go out of our homes. One rancher friend of mine said that he never saddles a horse with his crew to go out and work cattle or do anything on the ranch without taking a sidearm. No way. He said they fear for their lives, they fear for their property and their equipment. And other ranchers that I've talked to down on the border in Arizona, their cattle are never within the fence lines because the illegals are cutting the fences down. And the trash and the human filth. In one case, one rancher that I talked to said, you cannot believe, and for those that have weak stomachs and you're eating breakfast, I'm going to tell you anyway, the defecation on his lawn is absolutely pathetic. They left for a weekend to go and visit their children. Came home and the lawn looked like an open sewer pit. And yes, their garage had been broken into, and a lot of the tools and utensils were gone. And this isn't just a one-time occurrence. How much more should our citizens take from this illegal invasion? How would you like to wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is have to grab for a gun before you go out to feed your livestock, or strap on a pistol and go outside and watch where you walk because of the human feces that are all over around your lawn and driveway? And this is an exaggeration. It's the truth. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to tell everybody about our friends at Rain for Rent. Hello, all you farmers out there. Irrigation Time and Jake and the rest of the crew over at Rain for Rent are there to serve you at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. They have the most dedicated sales and service staff that really know the business of irrigation. You want to work with people that when you ask questions, they've got the answers. That's what you're going to find at Rain for Rent. Don't forget, they are a Reinke Diamond dealer, Platinum Plus certified pivot techs. They know what they're doing, so please don't put it off. Call Jake and the crew at Rain for Rent, 438-5065 over in Paul. Rain for Rent. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, a 4-strand barbed wire fence works quite well with cattle and horses. But these poor ranchers don't have a chance.
Well,
you know, it's just... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's ridiculous to think that a property owner should be subjected to the continual cutting and breaking and tearing down of fencing and living on the border, not knowing whether your cattle are going to be there. Are you going to lose so many pairs, so many calves are going to be gone? I mean, this is asinine that we can't protect our citizens.
I think it's a disaster. Well, it is. You know, and when the American people wake up to the fact that it is a disaster, it just isn't happening in their backyard.
Well, wait a minute, Keith. You're very self-secured at your home and your residence. Oh, sure, you take precautions. You go to bed at night and lock the doors and make sure perhaps that your vehicles are locked outside. But really, you're pretty safe and secure. Put yourself down on the border, whether it's in Arizona, over by McAllen, Texas, or whatever the case might be. You have no clue. You have no clue about your safety and security, not only in your home, but the rest of your property, your garage, your outbuildings, your cattle, etc. Every day is really looking over your shoulder to make sure that you're not going to be attacked or there's not going to be theft.
Well, let's look at it this way. You know, if you did sneak across the border, you don't have any money in your pocket or anything, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to steal. You got to have something to eat, and then clothing and stuff like that. It's just a travesty is what's happening.
Well, I mean, we as citizens of this country, we the people, should be a combined effort to tell our stupid, and they are, politicians to get this thing corrected, not tomorrow, not next Monday, but right now. And as President Trump said yesterday, this issue on the border could be solved in 45 minutes.
That's absolutely right. But what does the Democrats want to do? They want to talk about the Mueller investigation. They don't even care about our borders.
Listen to this. Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats, caller, I'll be right with you, stand by. Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats went behind closed doors last evening, and they wrote up a scathing notice to Donald Trump to condemn him for possible border closure. Can you imagine? Here's the president trying to solve and help American citizens, and these stupid, inept Democrats, led by Miss Botox, Nancy Pelosi, go behind closed doors last night to condemn the president for trying to help us.
It's insane. It's insane. And to show you how insane the Democrats have become, they're starting to eat their young now.
Yeah, I know it.
Like Joe
Biden.
Joe.
Hopefully they'll have a big appetite and get rid of a lot of them. I got to run, Keith. Thank you. I got another call. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Don't forget, on Mondays, we go ahead and have our cookie giveaway at 8:30, and that's, of course, with Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a restaurant. Oh, what a bakery. Cookies, pies, wedding cakes, everything delicious. For you at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go, please.
We've been eating too many cookies, Zeb.
I haven't, but maybe you have.
Yeah, I have. Hey, two topics, and they're related in the fact of what you've been talking about, is that the people of our country need to get off their duffs. And the two topics are specifically, first, the border issue, and it seems like a lot of money that we're going to invest in putting up the border wall. But in the event that the Democrats win control, they'll just let them go through the gate. And that concerns me with regard to the sanctuary cities and all the mindset that these people should come in uninhibited. So that's the first topic you could surely comment on. The second one is just related in that our mindset to get things right is waning, and we need to have some understanding and just some real education with what's going on in our country to get back to the basic beliefs that are needful so that we can sustain and thrive as a country. And what I mean by that is in our news reports, there was a Pulitzer Prize given to a couple of the Washington Post and another company, and their Pulitzer Prize was awarded because of their investigation into the Russian allegation. So if somebody wins a Pulitzer Prize on fake news, doesn't that set a precedent? There's two companies that won national prizes, and what irks me a little bit is if an Olympic later is discovered that they've because they've taken steroids or something, they take the award away from them. And I think this needs to happen with these journalists that have made a report on something that's fake and yet got a Pulitzer Prize. I just appreciate your comment.
Well, stay on the line with me for a minute, because I'm going to tell you this, and if you don't agree with me, you can tell me you don't agree. I think two words that come to mind right now in my thoughts about the American public and where we're headed, and I'll stand up and go toe-to-toe with anybody on this. We've lost our integrity, and we've lost our pride. Would you or not agree with me, or do you agree with me?
Oh, I'd agree, but it's more about. I think it's more about integrity, and I think you're right. I think first we have to have integrity, and then we can have pride in who we are and who we represent. But man, where we're going is, it's a tough deal.
What does it tell you? What does it tell you when you get up early in the morning and you turn on the news and you hear that a Democratic possible nominee for president, Julian Castro, came out yesterday and he condemned and damned President Trump and Republicans and this nation for having laws that stall or prohibit or stop people from coming across our borders. In other words, this nitwit, and that's what he is, wants to abolish any and all borders for free traffic coming in, and welcome to the good old USA. We, the taxpayers, are going to foot the bill.
Well, I think economically, that's where I think there needs to be some real comparison to those countries that have socialism and who pays for socialism and how long that those societies will actually last. And I think if someone could just take a camera and go to those countries who really wanted it and got what they wanted, I think if we could make a movie about that, I don't know what would cause people to believe truth is, and if that would be allowed to happen, it might make a difference. But unfortunately, I believe that until people are in that situation, that will probably not change our course.
Well, you just hit it on the head. I know who I'm talking to, and I have the utmost respect for you and your abilities in agriculture. But let's just use you as an example quickly. And all around you, all your new neighbors said, we're not going to work. We're not going to take care of our property. We're going to be basically squatters. We're going to sit on the land, and nobody's going to till the land. Nobody's going to own the land. We're going to go ahead and build some makeshift shelters. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there going, wait a minute. I own this land and I'm a taxpayer, and people are squatting out here and telling me that I can't work the land. This is my country. This is my land, and I'm a taxpayer. This is what's happening on the border right now in Texas, Arizona, etc., because people that are landowners are being told by the illegal aliens what's going to happen, and our government does not a thing.
Well, I also think it's part of the reason we're in trouble with our medical expenses is that we're footing the bill for all those folks anyway.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why we have to foot the medical bill.
There's no question we've got a mess. Okay, Mr. Caller, give me this. There's no question we've got a mess that absolutely is a cancer, and it's growing every day, and eventually it's going to kill us. That's blunt. What can we do to stop it? I am sick and tired of getting on this program and worrying about illegal aliens, worrying about what's going to happen in this country to the elderly, worrying about a Medicare system that is so dumb and disastrous that they're promoting a one-size-fits-all. It's basically a hemlock society that's going to kill off our elderly and not do anything for the unborn. This is so stupid, but nobody's doing anything.
Well, I can give you a suggestion, and maybe it's a way out-of-the-box suggestion. What the real challenge is we have to have our local elected officials more accountable to the specific things that they vote on, because they're the ones, realistically, that determine what happens in our communities and what happens in our state.
That's true.
And we have to hold the purse strings, so to speak, to make sure that happens. The second thing that maybe is out of the box is most of these people who go and protest and all these things you see are people. The only time I can't take time off work to go protest, nor do I allow my employees, because they have to work and they have to provide for their families. So what I would suggest then, Zeb, is maybe on your show, if there's an issue that's noteworthy, that we say, you know what, I feel significant enough about this issue that I'm going to send some money for its proposal or for its or against it, and that way we can maybe make a difference. But we can talk about it, and we need to do that. And your show is really important.
Well,
sometimes things are becoming so critical. We've got to take a stand with more than just our voice.
You know, and that's exactly true. And I'm going to tell you something, caller, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just being bluntly honest. There's nobody that puts more time and effort into getting various and different segments and the world leaders on various subjects on a radio program like I do. No other station around the state of Idaho had Dr. Jerome Corsi. No other station around the state of Idaho is going to be talking to George Papadopoulos like we are next Monday. I bring in the best people to discuss these problems, all the border issues and everything. And you know what? I get nothing in return as far as people saying, hey, let's jump up and help. And it gets frustrating, my friend.
Well, I think you're doing you're taking care of a noble cause, and I support you.
Well, you'd better call me after the program, because it's been way too long since you've been on this show. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, sir. All right. That's a dear friend. I've known him for, I'm going to say 30 years. Very sharp individual. I've got to do some bill paying right now, and I'm going to talk about Dr. Bill and the crew over at Ark Animal Hospital. And what I said a minute ago, I stand behind. I stand behind. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, they are a large and a small animal health clinic, and they want to make sure that your animals are healthy. Whether you got itty-bitty kitty cats or puppies or you got a whole bunch of dairy cattle, Dr. Bill and the crew really serve you. And that's the whole thing. They want your animals to be as healthy as you. I mean, my goodness sakes, it's ridiculous to have animals and not take care of them. So make sure they get treated by the best. Ark Animal Hospital, not hospital, it's with an O. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Call them at 678-1177. Also, real quick, and I believe we're going to have these folks on the air with us tomorrow. Hopefully, they need to be. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. 3 locations to serve you at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. Excellent opportunities for employment for people that are technicians and like to work with their hands. Yeah, buddy, you better give them a call. And don't forget the best of retail equipment sales and equipment rentals. They got it all at Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You get a hold of them today. I'm telling you, I'm frustrated. And it seems like every day there is something else in the news that just makes you want to set your hair on fire. And the idiocy that's going on in this country. The Democrats lost the last election. Okay. Gee, you read about it in the news and you heard about it on TV. But it's still going on. That's why we had the Mueller investigation. That's why we have fat little Jerry Nadler standing up right now as we speak and complaining about not getting the entirety of the Mueller investigation report. Why he's afraid of criminality with Attorney General Barr, that somebody's going to redact something. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. And by giving out an unredacted report would be totally illegal according to the laws in the Constitution. But he's furthering the cause against the sole reason for all this garbage: hate Trump. The Democrats lost the election. They want to change the rules now. Oh, gee. We lost. We can't have this anymore. So we're going to, attack the Electoral College. Why? That's been in effect since those old, dirty white men over 200 years ago came up with the idea to make it more fair and equal for the smaller populated states. But we got to get rid of that. No. Why? That cost Hillary the election. Nobody says that Hillary was such a poor candidate and so absolutely offensive to the public, that's the reason she lost. But we got to change the rules. We've got to get rid of the Electoral College. So Robbie O'Rourke, I will not call him Beto. Don't anybody criticize me. I'm not going to go with that silly nickname. His first name is Robert. I'm going to call him Robbie, whether you like it or not. They stand up and scream, we've got to get rid of the Electoral College. Why? We've got to stop it. So then Kirsten Gillibrand introduces a bill to get rid of the Electoral College. And Democratic-led states are jumping in behind her. Get rid of the Electoral College. Oh! And then, if we continually let these illegals in, then others like Kamala Harris and other greats like Bug-Eye Cory Booker say, well, if they're here in America, then they should vote. You see, you got to play by the rules. And the Democrats have no rules or regulations or laws that, unless they don't fit them, we've got to change them. And I'm fed up with this. You should be too. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I don't care if you're in the middle of a championship football game, or if you're in the middle of a baseball game, or if you're playing canasta, and you've got some dipstick that's sick of losing and he says, well, I think we've got to change the rules. It's nothing but a crybaby attitude. And the crybaby attitude is major part of the Democratic Party today. Don't forget the Bennett Boys Auction Service are going to have a great big sale this coming Saturday, April 6th. It's the Hal Rogers auction, and it's going to start at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning over in Wendell. From the center of Wendell, go north, young man, to 2900 South, and then west for 4 miles, and then north for a half a mile. Look for the signs. If you're like me, you're going to need them. And that's going to be a good sale. Tractors, backhoes, farm equipment, pickups, trailers, cars, milking supplies, all of this and more at the Hal Rogers auction, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service this Saturday at 11 o'clock in Wendell. Don't forget the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. You want to talk about something else that just absolutely will make you shake your head? Dickinson College. The students at Dickinson College, some of them are upset, mad, and their feelings are hurt. Because there are signs around the campus that encourage students to take the stairs instead of the elevators and stay fit. So some of these crybaby students are saying, that's fat shaming. You got to take the signs down. So the school is going to do it. The Dickinson College student newspaper said that students were offended this past month by a series of signs around campus that encourage students to avoid elevators and say, why not take the stairs if you're physically able? Exercise and strengthen your heart and muscles. So these wimpy little wusses, and they are demanding that the signs come down because I'm overweight and that's fat shaming. Oh, come on. And for adults that are leading the campus, they're saying that, oh, gee, maybe they're right. Golly, we didn't want to be offensive to overweight students and tell them that they're forced to use the elevators. Oh, no, we didn't mean that at all as far as telling them and shaming them into exercise. Oh, my goodness. And now you wonder why we've got college problems? You wonder why the higher learning institutions are so ridiculously, absolutely overpriced? And student loans and debt, everybody cries the blues and says, well, gee, I can't pay for my education. I'm in debt. I don't know how I'm ever going to see the light of day. I don't care. I got to be really honest with you. Deanna and I have had a long talk about this. We do not care about any student that has a huge and enormous pile of debt. I'll tell you why. If you want to be something and you want to get that education, whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a candlestick maker, whatever the case might be, you go to school and you get that education and that diploma for that. If you know it's going to take X amount of dollars to pursue that and really get your employment dream, that's your responsibility to pay your own bills. I paid for my education. I knew what I wanted to do. Bingo! I found out the avenue to do it, how to do it, and how to pay for it. And I have no sympathy at all for kids that go to college just to be in college. Let me repeat that. Just to be in college, and they maybe have a basket weaving course on Tuesday mornings and maybe a pottery class on Thursday afternoons. And then when they run up hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, they go, I can't pay for it. I don't have a job. And then we're supposed to pick up the tab as the American taxpayer? No. Heck no. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room, and they've got three great doctors of audiology, Christine Pickup, Courtney Mitchell, and Shane Hunsaker, and they know proper hearing, and they can help you with your hearing health. Don't put it off, please. Call for an appointment today at 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Finally hitting midweek, and we are still expecting some more precipitation as we make our way towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Expecting scattered showers off and on throughout the day. Thunderstorms are a possibility this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. Looking at a high of 57 today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Partly sunny, at least for part of the day tomorrow. Then by tomorrow afternoon, maybe some rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 62. 40% chance of rain showers for tomorrow night with a low of 43 as we hit Friday. Again, slight chance of rain showers, about a 40% chance. Expecting a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40, and then 30% chance of rain showers for Saturday and a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Rain.
Oh, Gina, thank you. It's kind of murky out there. Calls are welcome, and we thank Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, make a call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, I'm surprised. I thought maybe on that last story about the young people that have nothing. Who really is pointing the finger at anybody when you say, hey, take the stairs, be physically fit? It's a good reminder. And if somebody's feelings are hurt or they feel shamed, maybe they better look in the mirror. And maybe they are a little bit on the portly side, or let's just be blunt, fat, out of shape, obese. Then maybe they should think, you know what? I am a little bit overweight and obese. I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to take the stairs instead of the elevator. You know, again, you're going to take this as bragging, but I'm proud of it. In the last 2 years, I have lost, and I know I was getting up there. Wow. Had some problems, and I let the problems overtake me health-wise with my heart and everything. And I got up to, well, I'm not going to tell you the total weight, but I can tell you this much. I've lost 39 pounds. 39 pounds. I am wearing jeans, Wranglers, right now, that honestly have been laying in my closet saying, don't touch me. You'll hurt me. It's the truth. And now I'm wearing them. I got a pair on this morning, and they are comfy. And then I had a solid exercise program daily. And even though on crutches, a lot of walking. Now, to you, this might not sound like a lot, but I walk about a mile a day. And believe me, that's a lot of exercise, along with what I do, being a horseback and everything else. That is not boasting, but it's my regimen. And then I watch what I eat. Really watch what I eat. A lunch for me after this program, by the way, I have a very small Special K bowl of cereal at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hold on, caller. And then at noon, a broiled chicken breast with an apple and a piece of cheese. That's it. And at night, a broiled hamburger patty, or again, wonderful chicken, which I don't like, and a vegetable, and maybe, a little salad or whatever. That's it. And I feel tremendous. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How do you boil a hamburger patty?
I said broil, not boil.
I'm sorry. Okay. Once again, you're right. But on this staircase thing and the elevator, it's not just a weight loss thing on the stairs. It's good for your heart.
Well, naturally, that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah. It's not just so the obese people don't need to take offense to it. It's not necessarily them. It's anybody who cares about their well-being.
I will say this, and you might want to attack me on this, and Wheels, watch the feedback on this call, please. I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say all people, but I'm going to say some and possibly very many. Very many physically challenged people that are either on crutches or canes or in wheelchairs or whatever have become very lazy people. Very lazy people. And they've got a comfort zone of dependency, of not doing certain things because it's easier to have somebody else do it than try themselves, not do the exercises. Oh, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't do that. Or it hurts when I walk. Well, the reason it hurts probably is because they haven't tried to do it enough to exercise. I have said this for a long time, that people that are facing physical challenges can be, in many instances, too lazy to go out and try to do better for themselves.
Yeah, just the other day, I was standing in line for something, and this person ahead of me was on crutches, and they dropped the papers they had in their hand. I immediately picked them up and, handed them back to him. And he was so appreciative of that. looking for pity is one thing, but helping others is more important.
Yeah, but there's always ways that, regardless of who you are, what your circumstances are, whatever, and I've maintained this, and if it offends somebody, so be it. It's too easy to be sedentary and sit back and not do anything and let others do it for you. And when I start getting that way, they better start kicking dirt in my face, because I'm not going to quit. Keith, appreciate your call. Thank you.
All
right, sir. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's just too many people, I think, that use circumstances to not do anything or try to improve their circumstances and their health. I didn't say all. I know I'm going to get the emails. I know I'm going to get the phone calls. And they're going to, how dare you pick on us that are in wheelchairs? I'm not picking on everybody. But I am saying that there is a huge number that could do better, feel better, and be better if they weren't so lazy. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Monday at 10:30, we start all over again with a wonderful lady, the lovely Miss Vicky. Yep, at 10:30 next Monday, it's going to be Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Garden. And we're looking forward to a great season of gardening tips and everything. And we urge you to call or write me, Zeb at the Ranch, at hotmail.com. And ask about any gardening questions, whatever, because that's going to be on Monday at 10:30. Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Garden. Don't miss it. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's another story that I didn't get a chance to get into about Hofstra University. And I'm going to mention that story. These students at Hofstra University, this is unbelievable. A year ago, they wanted to take down the statue of our third president, Thomas Jefferson. They said, well, he can't be in front of our campus. No, we've got to get rid of him because every time we look at him, we think of racism and slavery. Thomas Jefferson, one of our great forefathers, wrote the Declaration of Independence. And these wet-nosed, know-nothing between-the-ears students want to get rid of the statue, eliminate Thomas Jefferson. Well, the school met last year, and they said, no, Thomas Jefferson's going to stay. Well, they're coming back again this year. They're coming back. And they say that it is their goal to expose the culture of bias and discrimination and demand, I love that one, kids, demand the statue of Thomas Jefferson is removed and gone. This is so ridiculous. You know, how do you purge America? How do you throw away America? What was done 250 years ago and was applied and thought of as being normal and natural, times changed and evolved, and today it's so easy for some of these wet-nosed, not much between the ears kids to say, oh, they were wrong, they were racist, they supported slavery and everything, we got to get rid of them. How do you purge America? Think about that. Right now, it's time for your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale going on where you can save a whole bunch of money. A lot of money. And they've got a special sale on a lot of their best tires, like the Ultra Z900 for your passenger cars, up to an 80,000-mile warranty, mud and snow designation. It's a good tire. And don't forget, too, with this great big tire sale, you stop in, they've got the best in brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, service at all 7 locations. You better believe it. Spring tire sale at your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twish family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overrun in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, I probably have got everybody mad this morning. Mission accomplished, sir. Thank you very much. Let's see, I got one quick note I've got to get on here. Bingo Friday night over at the Rupert Senior Center. And don't forget, call Dave Stucker for another event. And that's a great big team roping school put on June 1st and 2nd up in Meridian, the Legends. Jake Barnes and Clay O'Brien Cooper. Woo! Don't want to miss that. Dave Stucker, 866-3444 for that school. And I've got some other public service announcements that I'll get to hopefully as the day goes along, so stay tuned. Right now we're going to stop. Caller, you called too late. I'll give you 30 seconds and then I'm just going to cut you off real fast. Go.
Okay, Zeb, people are worried about food shortage if the border is closed. Anybody ever thought about what happened during the Berlin airlift?
Well, right now, I'm more worried about a border that lacks security than I am a border that lets avocados in.
Oh, absolutely. But this is just a thought. There's so much concern about people going hungry, not getting their tomatoes and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was just a thought.
All right, my dear friend. God bless you, Tony. Thanks. I got to run. News next from CBS. That'll really mess things up. We'll be back in about 6 minutes. Oh, good morning to you and yours. It is wet outside. My goodness, there's a lot of rain falling out there. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big spring tire sale going on right now. Stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. All right, Wheels, let's hear this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Don't forget, if you've got outdoor events planned for the spring and summer, and you've got a checklist of, let's see, we got all the food taken care of, we've got all the ice, we've got all the soft drinks, we've got all the table service. Somebody forgot to order the porta potties. Well, just call Western Waste. Always at your disposal. They've got all the porta potties at Western Waste. 734-6969. You call them today. I want to also remind you that if you're in the, you get home and you're tired and you sit in your chair and you'd like to just relax a little bit. Maybe you're really into soothing music, okay? Well, Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley, they got all the complete sound systems and the home theater systems and all the TVs. And your home is your castle, and you come home dragging yourself, you're tired, and you just sit in that lazy boy and go, oh, this is nice. Well, let Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley help you with all your electronic needs. All you have to do is just get in the car and head on down to 421 East Main. And remember, they're open Monday through Saturday, Patterson's in Burley. Really nice people. One last word before we go to our great guest, and I say great guest because he is one nice guy. And I want to remind you about the Salmon Select Horse Sale. Oh, buddy, I'll tell you what, 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, coming up on April 11th through the 13th. Oh, my friend, Fred Snook. Fred is a good old boy and took this sale over many years ago and has done a tremendous job. 756-2125 for all the information about the Salmon Select Horse Sale. It's more than just a sale. It's an event. I mean, mule sale, horse sale, all the activities. Don't miss it up in Salmon. Lemhi County Fairgrounds 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale starting on April 11th. Here he is, back in Indianapolis, Indiana, my friend Dave Bego. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Well, I got a question for you. Who is this Democratic possible nominee by the name of Pete Buglastafia, whatever? Well, I can't think of his name. How do you say that name, and who is this guy?
You mean Buttigieg? Buttigieg, I think it is.
Well, you're having as much trouble as I am with the name.
Yeah, it's Buttigieg, the baby Bernie.
You said it almost as bad as I did, but who is this guy?
He's just the mayor in South Bend, Indiana, and I really don't know much about him. But that is a liberal area up in that area, and so it's not surprising to me that they've got people backing somebody from Indiana to get involved with all of these potential Democratic candidates for the 2020 election.
Wheels turn Mr. Bego up a little bit when he's speaking. I'd appreciate it. Ride the gain. Dave, when you talk about Democratic nominee candidates, and there are more that are going to start throwing their hat in the ring, including, I think by tomorrow, we're going to hear about a guy that every time I see him on television, honestly, I want to go get a punching bag and work out. Eric Swalwell from California. This guy has been nothing but trouble, nothing but negativity, nothing but hate for Trump, and now he's considering throwing his hat in the ring.
I know it's this is all the far left, because this mayor from South Bend. When you read the article on him, it says the far left West Coast people or coastal people, are in favor of him too. And these are people, Zeb, and I know people probably get tired of hearing me say it, that I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. But they fundamentally want to bring this country down and change us into a socialist communist country they can control. And it's funny, the more people I talk to, in business and on the phone, like I got a call from a guy, I think he's out in Philadelphia yesterday, and he read my book, and he says, Dave, you opened up my eyes, and he says, the far-left Democrats are exactly what you express in your book, and he says, they want to ruin our country, and I hate it. And I'm just hearing this stuff all the time.
Well, yeah, but listen, let's just go down a little litany of what I talked about earlier this morning. Another possible Democratic nominee for president, Julian Castro. Good old Julian. Yeah, buddy, I'll tell you, he's a great guy. He said yesterday that he absolutely wants to eliminate the whole border system of our country and let everybody come on in. Isn't that warm and fuzzy of him?
Oh yeah, it's the tactics and agenda of the left, and like what I went through with the SAIU, and they could say, oh, we're going to just let everything happen, you guys get everything and that, but at the end of the day, they speak out of both sides of their mouth, and it's all about them. It's not about the people.
Well, the majority of the Democrats right now are honestly speaking out of both sides of their mouth. Look at what happened yesterday with another presidential hopeful. I'm not going to call him Beto because I don't like the man, and I'm going to call him by his first name. His name is Robert, and I'm going to call him Robbie O'Rourke. He stood up and was screaming that he needs to have help getting rid of the Electoral College. Okay, he screamed that. Then, yesterday afternoon, Kirsten Gillibrand introduces a bill to get rid of the Electoral College. So basically what this tells me, and Mr. Bego, I want you to chime in, the Democrats have proven that they are losers, and the only way they can win is to change the rules and change the way things have been done in this country for over 200 years.
Well, that's exactly right, and the only path to that is socialism and communism, where they control the whole process. And That's what this is all about. And I've been through it. I've seen it with the unions, and not all unions. It's some of these bigger radical unions and that. And these people, they want to control you, and they don't know how to be successful in our free market system, and so they just want to implement the socialistic type of thing. And it's kind of like AOC, the gal that was elected, and I don't know if you saw her come out the other day, and it shows you how smart she is and what she knows about history. But she came out the other day and said that FDR was a commander-in-chief when the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan during World War II. The truth about that, he'd already passed away and been dead for almost 2 full years.
I know it.
It was Truman that was the one that passed that. And this tells you how some of these people are. They really don't understand what's going on.
A 29-year-old bartender that really has never done anything, really doesn't have the mental prowess to be telling anybody what to do, has sat down in her chair, crossed her legs, and looked out at the cameras and said, "I am the leader of the Democratic Party, and they will do as I say." What in the world is the matter with those people?
Oh, Zeb, it's amazing how they get these people on board and get them elected into these positions, and of course they've been brainwashed too, and she's been brainwashed, and obviously, in this article I read about her and FDR and all that, it talks about other things where her knowledge of history and education and that were just way far off, and this is the type of people that they want to brainwash and get out there, because they know these people go out and just say whatever they want them to say. And American people need to wake up and understand that's what this is all about.
Well, wake up and understand about this issue. And I'm worried about this. And it hurts you, Dave Bigo, in Indiana. It hurts me in Idaho. It hurts all of us that are taxpayers and citizens of this country. And that is the invasion. That's what it is. Anybody that says it's not an invasion is a liar. The invasion of illegal aliens on our border. I have talked to the people on the border. I have talked to Border Patrol people that are working on the border. And they are sitting back and telling me, "Zeb, we can't possibly handle these numbers. And in many circumstances, we're so overwhelmed and we're worried about our own safety and protection, we just let them go." If that's not a crisis, if that's not an emergency, and if you think that guacamoles and avocados are more important than security, you're a nut.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, it is a national issue and a national security. But, we've got, and we had Republicans come out yesterday in the Senate and that saying that they don't think it's a national emergency, and we don't need to do anything major about it right now. And they don't get it. Again, Zeb, and this all gets back to politics. These people, they don't want to do anything that will upset their chance of getting reelected in 2020. And so they're going to play the middle of the road and do whatever they can to make sure they keep the votes they think they need to get elected, whether it's right for America or not. And what we need is people in Washington to stand up and do what's right for America and enforce our laws.
I am thoroughly convinced, and nobody is going to tell me I'm wrong, that when the Democrats get out of a session, every day back there in Washington, and even a few Republicans, they don't get in taxis. They don't get in limos. They get in Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey clown cars and go really to work. These people are insane.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and but I will say this: I do believe that a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, even the Democrats, understand what's going on, and they're tired of what's to the far left and what they're trying to do, and they're tired of the people on the far right who don't have any backbone. And the more I talk to people, I hear more people that are standing up saying, "This is crazy. We can't continue to let this happen."
Dave, I want to talk about two different stories right now, and they both involve our youth. I'm sure you heard about Hofstra University a year ago, and the students that go to Hofstra said, oh, why, we can't walk by that statue of Thomas Jefferson every day. Why, he was a racist. Why, he was a slave owner. Why, we've got to tear this statue down. This guy was the third president of our United States and wrote the Declaration of Independence, and these punk, wet behind the nose and ears kids want to get rid of a statue about one of the greatest leaders and men in our country. What's going on here, David?
The left is trying to bring this country down from within, and they're, countries like Russia and other countries that we beat in wars, they're behind them, and for the last 30 years or so, they've infiltrated the education system and the teachers and the professors and all that, and they've got people in there that, tell them this stuff and brainwash these kids that, these are bad people. We need to tear down these statues, and we need to change this country, and it's all part of the process.
It may be all part of the process, but what worries me is you can't purge America. I said this first hour. You can't throw away Thomas Jefferson. You can't throw away George Washington. You can't throw away John F. Kennedy. You can't throw away anything from any president or any administration or periodic times where things were done differently in this country and then changed and evolved. You can't purge America. And these young punks that know nothing, are trying to desecrate and diminish the value of what America is.
Well, they are, and we have to wake up and we have to do the same thing what the left is doing, but do it the right way, and that's go out and sit these people down and educate them to what's truly going on and expose them and show them why we're telling them this is the truth. And because, again, going back to my fight with the SAU, it's things I had to do with our employees and customers and stuff, because, they'd go out and throw this stuff out there about us and other cleaning companies and our industry and everything, and they were all false accusations and bad information, and you had to expose them for it. And that's what we need to do, is expose the left about what they're doing and what they're saying.
Will they listen, though? That's the problem. I mean, you can sit 20 people down in a room that are absolutely opposed to your viewpoints and hate America, and you say, well, we're going to educate them. Well, what if they don't want to listen? What if they've got nothing but cotton stuffed in their ears, and they're so set in their ways they're going to sit there with their arms closed and folded, and they're just going to stick their chin out and say, nah, I'm not going to listen to you. What do you do then?
Well, what I found, Zeb, when I went out and did it, because I went out to all the buildings that were under attack, and our employees and that, and I'd go out there and I'd sit down with them, and I'd have lunch with them. I'd bring in pizza and sit down and talk to them, and I'd have, 20, 30 or more people in the room at times, and sit down and go through this stuff. And it was amazing when you start laying this stuff out. A lot of these people, the biggest percentage of them, sat back, and you could tell they understood that they had been brainwashed in that. And you might always have a couple that were still, would push back, but I find that you give people a chance, and you do it in an atmosphere that's comfortable, you got a good chance of winning.
I hope so. I pray so. Let me ask you this, and you may not agree with me on this, and I've got big shoulders. I can take it. Besides, I owe you a bunch of wine, so just be nice to me. There is a big deal about college debt. And Robbie O'Rourke and Kamala Harris and many of the Democrats and Bernie Sanders, of course, are espousing free college, and those that have run up huge college debt, why, they want to just say, oh, well, walk away. My feeling is, if you know what you want to do, and you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be a painter, or you want to be whatever in life, you make the decision to get the education necessary to pursue those goals and attain that education. You are necessary for the cost. Don't you dare sit and whine if you took basket weaving and pottery classes and have me pick up the bill. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And, that's where it needs to go. And, of course, during the Obama administration, he felt everybody should have to go to college. Well, not everybody is a college person. That's not who they are. That's not what their skill set is. And, we need people to go out and do what their skill set and what their abilities do for them.
Now that you have been purged and cleaned this morning by listening to my diatribe, I got to ask you about basketball. Weren't you absolutely taken back on your hip pockets with the devastating big school losses that took place during the tournament?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, but I think it's good. And, of course, we're kind of sad here in Indiana because we only had one Indiana team in Purdue, and, they got beat on a overtime bucket, and so it's kind of sad for us that we don't have anybody in the left in the tournament. But it's been interesting. You've had people like Michigan State beat Duke and everything. I like tournaments like that. I think it's great.
Well, I do too. And when you look at the overall, and I love college basketball. I love the purity of the game. I love the mistakes that are made, and I love the really great plays more so than the pros. But you look at Texas Tech, and you look at Auburn. I mean, they are putting on the golden slipper and going to a dance that they've never even been on the floor before. And I'm excited for these kids because, man, there was some good basketball played there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see because I'm always a believer that, everybody needs to have a chance. And it's great to see schools that aren't as highly rated in that come from behind and win these tournaments and stuff. It's great for the kids, and it also incentivizes people, the younger people. Yeah, I like this. I want to play basketball no matter where I play.
I have never been a fan of Duke or Mike Krzyzewski, but I will tell you something that I saw and I respected. When Duke barely beat the University of Central Florida, and he beat a player that is now the coach of UCF, and that's Johnny Dawkins, and Johnny Dawkins' son was the main hot shooting guard, Mike Krzyzewski went over and absolutely had tears in his eyes and praised Johnny Dawkins and his team, and I thought that was really nice. But then something happened when Duke got put out of the tournament by Michigan State. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but again, I praise Mike Krzyzewski. Zion Williamson got mad and was storming off the court, and Krzyzewski sent somebody to grab him by the jersey and bring him back to shake hands with the other team. My appreciation for Krzyzewski went up 100%.
Yeah, that's great, and you like it when coaches do those things, and unfortunately, and it's just like in anything, sports or business or anything, you have some that are good people and do good things, and you have some that aren't such good people and don't do such good things, and that's part of who people are.
Well, yeah, and you look at professional sports, especially like in basketball, less than 2%. Less than 2% of the players that we watch during the tourney and for across the board are ever going to get an opportunity to go pro. And some of the hot shots, some of the great rebounders, some of the great players will never get a chance to go pro, and this is their time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, and they got to enjoy it and appreciate it, and it's got to be an exciting time. It can't be at the end of the day where people are all grumpy and mad because it didn't go the way they wanted to go. This is an opportunity for people, and you got to, stand up and praise the people that had the guts and the determination to win. So.
Well, your shining moment is over, buddy. I'm done. Your time is up. I got to run. Hey, thanks again, Dave Bigo. God bless you. Back in Indianapolis, Indiana. See you next week.
All right, thanks. Have a good week, Zeb. Take care.
I like that guy. He's a good friend. Want to remind you about Joel Heward. Oh, my goodness, and Hanson Mortuary. They are serving you and your family, and they always acknowledge the solemn responsibility that they have to provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort at Hanson Mortuary, and always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please, for more information, a lot of the pre-information on funerals that we all should have, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, number to call 436-5636, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. By the way, I want to mention quickly before we go to our next guest that Rogge Auctions is in charge of the great big spring community sale that's going to be held April 13th at 10 o'clock at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds out in the hayfield, boys and girls, and get ready for the consignments right now. And I urge you to call Ron Rogge at 431-6187. Ron Rogge, 431-6187. Talk about what you've got. Maybe farm equipment, guns, livestock equipment, whatever the case might be. Big spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds coming up on April 13th, starting at 10 o'clock. Managed by Rogge Auctions. Really good people. I know some other good people with a frog in my throat this morning that you need to get a hold of, and we have them on the air frequently, and that's my good old buddy Jeff over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. My. They're having a great big warehouse mattress closeout, and they've got a lot of the plush queen mattresses starting at just $299. $299? Wow. And don't forget, along with that, they've got a lot of spring floor covering clearance and select carpet, and oh my goodness, you can save a lot of money. Some are 50 to 70% off. I kid you not. Get a hold of Jeff and the rest of the crew over there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. Well, I talked to this lady yesterday after the program, and we were kind of sitting here going, where is she? And then we found out that she had been given some misinformation about a starting time on my program, and the lost was not found. But we found her today, and her name is Veronica Hinke. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm wonderful. So glad to be able to talk with you all today.
Well, I was kind of curious when I was going through some different cheat sheets of information on guests that I wanted to have on my program, and when I go through those, a lot of them are pitch and thrown into file 13, but I ran across the title of your book, and it was called, I believe, The Last Night on the Titanic. And I got to tell you something, Veronica, the Titanic and the story about what happened and some of the personality stories interwoven, it's always intrigued me. What makes your book different?
Well, I think that it's looking through the story and the stories of the amazing people who were on board through the lens of style, mostly culinary, cooking, food, dining and wine, cocktails like the pre-Prohibition cocktails that really defines that era when the Titanic sailed. We did that on purpose. We wanted to extrapolate on a piece that I wrote a few years ago during the anniversary year, 2012, that looked at the wines and cocktails on board, and we just expanded it. And at first I thought, how am I going to expand this 350-word article into a book, a 350-page book? And I was able to take a really neat approach in assembling all the different stories of people who had saved menus from their meals. They had written letters home even, describing the meals that they ate. Like one man, Adolphus Salfeld, wrote a letter home to his wife about the first lunch that he ate on April 10th after the ship left Southampton. So we pulled all that together. I pulled all that research together, talked with people, did a lot of data research and libraries and all sorts of different menu research, and it turned into what I think is a respectful, honorable way and an interesting way at telling these people's stories.
Let me ask you this, Veronica. I heard something in the background that scared me and chilled me a little bit. You're not a damsel in distress tied to a railroad track, are you?
No, I'm near a railroad track, but no, I'm fine.
Okay. Had me worried. I thought all of a sudden you were going to scream help, and I didn't know how we could do that. Question.
You wouldn't hear that.
The question I've got is, these people that were on the maiden voyage of the Titanic, they had no clue as to what was going to loom in their future. But was this all kind of a crowd or group of people, if you will, that were of very well and endowed means that could afford the best?
Many of them were, and for sure, first-class passengers. This book also looks at second and third-class passengers. You know, like we see examples of menus in third class that include items like tripe and onions and plum pudding and even, you know, gruel is on one of the third-class menus. So we look at a wide array of the different types of foods, even the crew menus. You know, Ed Wheelton tucked away a crew menu that was handwritten, in fact, and it has resurfaced. And he was a member of the crew, and it really tells us a lot about what people were eating back in those days. And on the Titanic today, April 3rd would have been the day of the sea trials. So 107 years ago, they were at the testing of the Titanic, and the crew actually had quite a fabulous lunch after the trials were completed for the most part. And we have that menu included from today, April 3rd, thanks to the Stanley and Laurel Lair collection.
Okay, now I'm going to put myself in a precarious position of looking really dumb and stupid, but what is chicken and wild mushroom vol au vents?
Those are wonderful. They're a puff pastry filled with basically a creamy chicken mixture in the filling. You know, there's all kinds of ways to adapt it to include different vegetables that you like. And that recipe, the modern-day recipe for that, was contributed by Delmonico's New York City. So we're really excited that that could be part of the book.
What about, this is one that intrigues me because it sounds really good, peaches in chartreuse jelly.
Yes, another one of my personal favorites. Chartreuse was one of the liqueurs that was found at the Titanic wreck site. And it was also on the menu in the chartreuse jelly. And it's a green jelly. You want to use green chartreuse when you're making that recipe.
Oh, okay. Now don't you go getting high class on me now, Veronica. We're on a roll. Easy. You're the one with the train in the background, not me. Tell us a little bit, and this is another part of the story that I'd like you to visit a little bit about, the captain of the ship, Edward Smith. And you say in your book that you discuss a little bit about him in the final moments of the Titanic.
Yes, there's at least one eyewitness account that claims they believe it was Captain Smith who was swimming a baby out to the lifeboat that he was in, and Captain Smith was doing the backstroke, I think it was the backstroke, maybe the side stroke, to carry the baby after the Titanic had gone completely under the water. And after all the research that I did on Captain Smith, I certainly believed that that could have been possible. He was a gentleman to the end. People have asked me if he was drinking, and I would not believe he was. Even I think that might have been a belief of some people, because there was a retirement dinner for him in the first-class dining room. So while other diners were around the table where the retirement dinner was happening, there was this one smaller, much smaller, very private, personal party in honor of Captain Smith. And that sort of fueled rumors that possibly he had been drinking. I think just because he was in a room where there were a lot of toasts being made to the Titanic and so forth. And so I think that was, not exactly how it happened.
Let me ask you, Veronica, when you were writing this book and you were doing the research, what did you find out personally about the mindset of these people, whether they were passengers, whether they were crew members, the captain, whatever, the mindset of what these people must have been going through in the final minutes?
Well, at first there was disbelief that the crisis was as serious as it was. People were reluctant to board the lifeboats. As it became more obvious, then the lifeboats became more crowded. But in the very beginning, for at least the first hour, the Titanic struck the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on Sunday night, April 14th. And at first, there wasn't a mad rush. There wasn't a big calamity of sorts. People were reluctant to board the lifeboats. And when they did board the lifeboats, one of the things that really struck me as amazing was that the lifeboats in many cases were slanted. They were, one end was higher than the other. They had to jump down several levels to get into the boat. Many people were injured by people jumping up on top of them. So that was pretty interesting to me.
When you, again, going back to the research you talk about in some of the promo sheets of information about your book, the chief baker, I believe his name is Charles Joan, who survived the wreck by drinking a bottle of schnapps. You better tell us about that.
Well, he didn't drink a bottle of schnapps. He was drinking schnapps, and it's always been believed that he was drinking whiskey. But a family member of Charles Dawkins was able to confirm for me that he had told his family it was schnapps that he was drinking. I wouldn't necessarily say he drank a bottle per se. I would say that he, was drinking schnapps, and certainly I can't imagine that it would be true that that's what kept him alive. He was a very rugged man, and he was able to tread water for 2 hours, he said. And his story is really amazing because he had been assigned to be the crew of a lifeboat. And when it came time for that lifeboat to launch, he was not one of the crew members who received orders to board it and to be part of the crew. When he realized that, as he told the British Inquiry later, that was when he decided to go and have a nip, as he put it. He came back upstairs from his quarters and saw that all the lifeboats had gone. And he did something pretty remarkable that I was inspired by. He was proactive, and he looked at the deck chairs, these very long, stretched out wooden chairs, very heavy, and he thought, if I'm going to be in that water, maybe if I throw all these deck chairs into the water, there will be something for me to hold on to. Mm-hmm. And I found that very inspiring.
The water, you mentioned that he, the baker, had said that he had treaded water for over 2 hours. Now, it was my opinion and thought of what little bit I know about the Titanic, that the water was extremely cold and that would be impossible. What really is the truth there?
Yeah, it was below freezing. I don't honestly know how people did stay alive. It's remarkable that anyone did, unless they were in a lifeboat. The scene that we see in the James Cameron Titanic movie of people, holding on to whatever they could get their hands on. We see Kate Winslet hanging onto a piece of wood. Sadly, that is very much how it happened.
Yeah. The absolute voyage of the Titanic, its fame, and it'll be forever in glory in our minds. But what was the main purpose of that maiden voyage? Was it to just create kind of an aura of wealth and glitter and glitz and show everybody that it could be like the first original cruise line of fun and frolic? Or what was the main reason?
Well, obviously the main reason was the White Star Line, like any steamship line at the time and cruise ships today, they were trying to make money, right? So they were trying to come up with the most opulent service and accommodations and food that they could.
Okay. And, give us a kind of a concept of how big the dining halls were and how lavish the internal organization of the boat, of the ship was. I mean, give us a little background on that.
The Titanic stretched 4 city blocks long, and I was always mesmerized. My 7th grade English teacher read the book to us, A Night to Remember, by Walter Lord. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Book?
Yes, I have.
It was made into a movie in the 50s. Mm-hmm. And She said, so that would be from our high school all the way down to the library. And I was a kid at the time. I was 12 years old, and I was just absolutely blown away that there could be a ship that big and people would be on it. And there was actually a man from my hometown area, Dan Coxon. The people called him Popcorn Jan, and he was on the ship. So I was even more mesmerized. How did someone from central Wisconsin get on a ship like that? It's just, you see the pictures of this overwhelmingly huge ship. And then another thing that was really amazing was that an entrepreneur named Luigi Gatti, he's an Italian man, he was brought into the project as a concessionaire because they wanted to have French eating areas. So many of the eating areas were completely French staff, French accommodations and food. And what's interesting about that is on the night the Titanic sank, many of the staff with the concessionaire team were not able to go to the boat deck because they weren't passengers and they weren't with the crew of the White Star Line. So a few days later, or actually it was months later, after the British inquiry, when this all came out, one of the headlines in one of the papers read, "Titanic cooks drowned like rats." And it described how they were held back and could not get up to the boat deck. So, the story we've heard so much about the third-class passengers being held back, that actually happens to many of the chefs and cooks as well.
Oh, my. Let me ask you, you mentioned in our conversation just a moment ago Wisconsin. Are you from Wisconsin now?
I live near Chicago, and it's, where I wrote the book for the last 2 years in the Chicago area, mostly.
Well, the reason I asked is that's where I'm from, is southern Wisconsin, and I don't know if you're familiar with the town or not, but I was born and raised in a town called Fort Atkinson.
Oh, sure. I'm very familiar with Fort Atkinson.
Well, that's where I went to school. That's where I went to school. Let me ask you this. When people get your book, and I'm going to find out where they can get it and purchase it in just a moment, but what do you want them to take away from your book, Veronica? What's the main theme when they close the last cover and set the book back on the shelf? What do you want them to remember?
I'm so glad you asked, because I wanted to make sure to share this with you and your listeners. The number one thing to us in this project is that the stories of these people are told, and that they're dignified and honored in the way they should be. These were incredible heroes, absolute bravery and courage, and we see so many cases where people were helping others even when they were looking death right in the face. And so that's the one main thing that I want people to take away from this book. Inspiration. During the book project, my mother died suddenly at a very young age. She was in her 70s, but she was in perfect health. It was very unexpected, and a few months after that, I, myself, was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer, which is a very scary thing to hear you have. And the stories of these people, what they did for me while I was researching and writing them, I hope that they will do that for others as well.
Wow. I have the utmost respect for you, and I also wish you God's blessings for better health. And I want to thank you for coming on the program. But now, the last night of the Titanic, tell us where the book can be obtained.
Well, it's available online at Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. And as of yesterday, it's available in bookstores everywhere.
Well, God bless you, Veronica Hinkey, and I'm going to try to get a hold of the book, read it, and have you back on the program. And God's blessings to you, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Zeb, and I would love to talk with you again, hopefully next time with no train horn.
Okay. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, have a good day, Zeb.
Thank you. A nice lady right there, Veronica Hinkey, and author of the book The Last Night on the Titanic. it's an interesting concept, and I really applaud her about going into another area or another venue of finding out what they did on the Titanic and what happened to a lot of the people and what the dinner menus were and what they were doing when they hit that iceberg. I really applaud her for a job well done, Veronica Hinkey, and the book is called The Last Night on the Titanic. Thank you very much. Oh, it's going to be the last night here if I don't get this weather forecast on. Holy moly, Wheels, you know, he rules everything with an iron fist over there. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And you can bet your bottom dollar that they are burning the midnight oil right now at Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with all the tax return preparation. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial services, everything with 2 offices to serve you in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Little Miss Weather. Here's Gina.
Finally hitting midweek, and we are still expecting some more precipitation as we make our way towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Expecting scattered showers off and on throughout the day. Thunderstorms are a possibility this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. Looking at a high of 57 today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Partly sunny, at least for part of the day tomorrow. Then by tomorrow afternoon, maybe some rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 62. 40% chance of rain showers for tomorrow night with a low of 43 as we hit Friday. Again, slight chance of rain showers, about a 40% chance. Expecting a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40. And then 30% chance of rain showers for Saturday and a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina, brought to everybody this morning. I know Leiden and the rest of the crew over there are busy serving you. Don't forget Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I think Leiden Crane's going to be on the program with us tomorrow, I believe, with our chamber report. And I urge you to get a hold of them today. In Burley and Rupert, the best. Working for you and, like I said, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow. Let's see. I had a little news note I wanted to put on here, and for the life of me, I can't find it now. I had a little public service note, and it escapes. You should see this desk. You'd understand why it escapes me. I do want to say this. And I'm not taking either side on this. I'm going to remain neutral today, but you know my opinion in the past. I was not in favor of the Medicaid expansion. You heard me on this program, and I said I was against it because I thought there were too many variables. And if you think I'm just saying it now, you're wrong, because I have the tapes to back this up. Prior to the election, I said I thought there were too many variables on Medicaid expansion that would create a lot of problems in trying to fund the program. Well, it's occurring that way. And I made the statement on the air many, many times with our legislators that how are you going to set a budget on money when you have no cap on numbers? And now I also have advocated that for those that are physically able, they should have a work requirement. Well, all of these issues and more are really coming down on the heads of our legislators as they are trying to get everything worked out and get out of this session. And the reason I brought this story up is that we've had a lot of calls after the program and everything, and what we're going to do is the minute that this problem is basically solved and finished, I'm going to have either Senator Kelly Anthon or Representative Fred Wood or Speaker of the House Scott Bedke or whomever on the program and give us a synopsis. You know, there's other things that I'm committed to on this program. There are other segments that I am committed to by contract, and I can't just jump in and say, well, I'll let you on the air for 30 minutes on this time or 20 minutes here. I've got commitments. But I want to follow this story, and we're going to really pay a lot of attention to it next week. Now, I believe, and I could be dead wrong, that the session is probably going to go at least another week, unless I hear differently in the next 48 hours. But it looks like it's going to turn into a real, like one legislator told me, rodeo. And it's not settled yet. I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. All you've got to do is just pick up the phone and call for an appointment and let them help you. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, dedicated and responsible to your needs, so please give them a call today, 436-4424. I better say it again or I'll get yelled at. Bingo! Friday night at the Rupert Senior Center. They're pretty avid, I'll tell you that. Also, don't forget our friends at Let's Ride, and they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, they've got all the four-wheelers. Put the key in, turn it to the right, take off the brake, and head for the hills. They've got the best doggone four-wheelers and all the accessories, and they got a super service department to keep you running. Stop over. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. It's true, Let's Ride is where the fun is sold. What have we got coming up next hour? That's a really good question. Old Wheels is probably wondering if we're going to get them all on. We've got a gentleman coming on the air, excuse me for clearing my throat, by the name of Brian Colfage. I hope I said his name right. I'm going to ask him. And we're going to be talking about a subject that I'm bitter about, and I think you as a taxpayer should be too, about the money, our money, that is going overseas to foreign countries, and yet they don't abide by our laws, and they keep sending people to break our laws illegally in the United States. We're going to talk about that. Then, at 10:30 this morning, we're going to talk about a subject that I know you're aware of. It's toxic diversity. And I think that word diversity, I hate that word. I've developed a hatred for that word diversity. Well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that to be more diverse. And then we fragmentize and crumble our existing culture. We're going to talk to Dan Subotnick about that at 10:30. Tomorrow on the show, don't forget, we're going to have all kinds of goodies. The Chamber Report, I believe Leidencrane's going to be doing that. Rita Ramsey's going to be back. And then, of course, one of my favorites at 10:30, talking about this Hollywood mess, or Hollyweird mess, with all these great Democratic liberal ideas that are going right down the drain. And that's James Herson is going to be on tomorrow morning at 10:30. So all of this, and right now we're going to send it over to Wheels. I'm going to rest for 6 minutes. We'll be right back. Holy cow, it is wet outside. I expect any minute to see a trout swim by my window. A lot of rain and not real pleasant, but we'll make the day brighter. Right here on Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. Hour number 3 with our major sponsors, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale. And don't forget some of our great advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have a surprise guest on our line in just a moment, but first and foremost, I want to remind you that the Great Big Spring Community Sale is going to happen over at Minidoka County Fairgrounds. It's going to be on April 13th at 10 a.m., managed by our friends, Rogge Auction Company. I urge you to get a hold of them for your consignments, whether it's farm equipment, guns, livestock equipment, loaders, whatever. You call Ron Rogge at 431-6187. And don't forget, that's coming up on April 13th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Get up, have a cup of coffee, and go buy something at the Spring Community Sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds on April 13th. We have had a change within 5 minutes of our original guest, and it's really kind of funny because the guest that is going to fill in this morning is a man that I've wanted to have on my program for the last year. And I've got the utmost respect for him, his opinions, etc. Audience, I hope he's on the line because we welcome former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. David, good morning, sir. How are you?
Seb, it's a pleasure to be on with you, and hello to your listeners.
You know, anybody that wears a cowboy hat, when you're talking to somebody like me in Idaho, you're more than welcome. Sit down, put your boots up on the desk, and relax. How's everything going for you?
Things are going great. Life is good. The fight continues. I'm in the belly of the beast helping this fight, the Trump administration, the border crisis, the other attacks coming from the left. I'm a full-time foot soldier for freedom and liberty in America now.
I hope you don't mind if I call you David, or if you prefer Sheriff Clark, you tell me, but I've got to ask you this. The border is a mess. I've been there. I know a lot of people in Arizona and Texas that are ranchers in those areas, and they are being besieged. They are being invaded, and their property is being desecrated and totally torn apart. This is a mess that the American public needs to be aware of, but the news media is not telling, in my opinion, the right story. Let's start there. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the liberal media is doing a very good cover-up job here, providing air support for the Democrats and their big lie that it's a manufactured crisis at the border. Like you, I was down at the border about 5 weeks ago. As recently as 5 weeks ago, I was in Texas at the Rio Grande Valley sector, and I also went up to Sanderson County, which is the Big Bend sector. As you know, there are 5 sectors along the Texas border, and then a couple in Arizona, a couple in California, and it comprises the 9 sectors that the border is divided into. Look, on the Mexican side, the Mexican border is controlled by the drug cartels. Mexico is a failed narco state. The government is not in control along the Mexico's northern border, and that is part of the problem that we deal with. The president, I think, has labeled this correctly. It is a humanitarian crisis with drugs coming in. We have a fentanyl, we have an opioid crisis in this country. 90% of it comes through the southern border. We have human smuggling, sex trafficking that is coming across the southern border. It's become a domestic security issue. The president has also labeled it a national security issue as well. So we know, your listeners know, the Congress is not going to do anything about this. And I'm going to put the blame on both parties because for 2 solid years, the GOP was in control of the House and the Senate. They could have fixed it without help from the Democrats. They could have got a bill up to the president's desk. The President Trump continued to implore them, get something up here to fix this thing. Give me the resources I need. The GOP didn't do it. Now the Democrats control the House, and we know that nothing's going to be done. But Seb, the thing that I find striking is that there's not one GOP voice in the Congress on Capitol Hill that is leading the charge to fix this broken illegal immigration system, which has turned into a crisis now. And the president has some options. He's going to take a look at all of his options. He's going to do what's in the best interest of the United States. He's approaching this from a policy perspective, where the Democrats are approaching this from a political perspective.
I've got to ask you this, David. Here in Idaho, right here in southern Idaho, we are on a pipeline right from Arizona through Utah into this area, and we have a lot of illegal aliens coming into this area. I'm going to be very blunt. We have got to do something soon, whether it's the re-involvement with the H-2B programs, whatever the case might be. We've got to do something soon. All of these illegal aliens basically invading the border right now and putting our Border Patrol at risk. I've talked to Border Patrol agents, and they flat told me they can't handle the numbers, and they're having to let some just jump across the border and go because they have a lack of manpower. This is a bigger mess than America really is being told about. When you were there, what scared you the most that you didn't know before you visited the border?
how open the southern border actually is. We ran into several roving bands of invaders, 25, 30, 40, coming up from Honduras. They weren't afraid to come across the border. They were already on the United States side. They actually seek out the Border Patrol to claim asylum because our asylum laws are being exploited. We talked about the Border Patrol. I had several briefings with the Border Patrol in Sanderson County. Right now, they're trying to get a drink from a fire hose. They're under siege. They don't have the resources. They don't have the human resources, Border Patrol agents on the ground to be able to deal with this heavy influx. Part of what the drug cartels are doing, this is part of the game that's going on, is when they want to get big shipments of drugs or human sex trafficking across the border, they will flood the checkpoints with people seeking asylum. It overwhelms the checkpoints, and then the Border Patrol has to send additional agents. They have to take them away from other areas that are already, where there are not enough agents to deal with the heavy influx. That opens up more avenues for the drugs and the human smuggling to come in. That's the game that's being played by the drug cartels along the Mexican border. So, the Border Patrol, they're up to their eyeballs in alligators right now. Nobody wants to do anything except the President of the United States. Like I said, he has options. He's going to do something. And I don't want to get out ahead of him, and I don't want to get into his head, and what should he do, and so on and so forth. I'm going to follow his lead. I support what he's doing on the southern border. He's not running away from this issue like previous presidents have done. They all run on it. They all run on border security, including GOP and Democrat lawmakers in Congress. They run on border security. They raise money off of border security. Yet when push comes to shove and it's time to act on Capitol Hill, they do nothing. That's not what this president's going to do. This president realized there may be political peril, but he doesn't care about that. What he cares about is honoring his duty to protect the Constitution, defend U.S. sovereignty, defend the safety and security of people along the southern border.
You and I are on the same path here. I've said for a long time on my program, David, I'm sick and tired of hearing these politicians, be they senators or congressmen, call into my program and give us a complete review of what they personally have done. I don't care what they've done personally. I want to see an en masse grouping of senators and congressmen that are going to stand up, take off their wingtip shoes, beat them on the desk, and say that something's got to be done for the sanctity and the safety of our borders, but they're not. They're cowards, and they're not doing their job.
You're exactly right. Anything that comes out of the mouths of these people on Capitol Hill is a bunch of BS. It's all political speak. It's all theater. It's all smoke and mirrors. This thing has been going on for the last 3+ decades. This problem along the southern border, it's reached a crisis point now. It's reached a boiling point, but that's why I joined this effort, WeBuildTheWall.org. People can go there, poke around. We're helping ranchers down along the southern border. You mentioned you met with them. I met with some as well. You're right. They're beleaguered. The government is letting them down. Their property is being ravaged by illegal aliens. They're being confronted by these people. Their barns, their sheds, their homes are being broken into and looted, and they're getting no help from the government. We Build the Wall is a private effort to help some of these ranches where we can, but we need capital for this, so we need donations to build walls and barriers on private land for private ranchers who need it, and like I said, who are being let down by their government.
Well, I know...
The president is now putting the pedal to the metal, and he's going to get their attention. He's going to cut off aid to Honduras and Guatemala. The Mexican government is complicit in this because we found papers on some of these bands of illegal trespassers, temporary visas from the Mexican government, allowing them to illegally cross into Mexico, temporarily stay there, only allowing for enough time for them to get to the Mexican northern border, our southern border, and into the United States. This is how vast this problem is. We need changes to our asylum laws. We need changes to the guest worker program. This thing is very complex and needs to be worked at in a compartmentalized process And until they do that, and they won't really, but until they do, that's why I said the president's going to get their attention. When he I take that back, if he closes that border, he's going to then put the ball in the court of Congress, and he's trying to force them to do their job.
Well, the whole thing is, David, and I'm going to be very blunt about this, and I think you'll concur with me, I don't give a damn about avocados and guacamole versus security. I want my family to be safe and secure. I want, as a taxpayer, people to come into this country legally. I don't want to have to support illegals coming in, our school system, the diseases that are coming in. I've got grave concerns that if this is allowed to continue for about another 2 or 3 months, and they estimate we could see 400,000 more coming in that time, America is done. We're toast. The borders will never be re-implemented.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't give a rat's ass about avocados. I mean, that's an elitist mindset. Anybody who's talking about the avocado industry might be affected by this. Who gives a damn about that? I give a damn about American sovereignty. I give a damn about American citizens. This is becoming, there's a phrase now, it's every town's a border town, because as you indicated, in Idaho, I'm in Wisconsin, that once they get past the southern border, they're infiltrating all throughout the United States, so every state is being affected by this. This is a tax on our public health system, our schools. We don't have the money for this. The diseases that are popping up in the United States, I'm not going to blame them all for it, but we don't know what's coming in. That's why I'm bringing this up. Diseases that are starting to show up in the United States that were basically eradicated and basically non-existent are starting to occur again. We don't have the record system. Gangs are coming in through the southern border. You heard about MS-13. I mean, this thing is such a crisis. And like I said, you've been down there, I've been down there. I bet many of the people on Capitol Hill, many of these Democrat candidates for president, like Kamala Harris and Gillibrand, I bet they've never been down to the border. I bet they've never seen this. And, as a result, I don't think if they went down there they would care anyway, because, like I said, they're playing politics, not policy. But at some point, I think we're reaching that breaking point, like you said. This is going to collapse. This whole damn thing is going to collapse, and that's why the president continues to raise the issue. He's not going away from this. I think it's going to be a big issue going into 2020 because this issue is not going away. The polling favors the president. The president knows, because he's made the case, he knows that he's on the right side of this policy-wise. He's on the right side of the American people. Nearly 70% of Americans want this damn border sealed down, our southern border sealed. They want something done. They want this thing fixed. But again, it's falling on deaf ears in Congress. The Constitution is very clear. It says the Congress shall form rules on naturalization or immigration. That's Article 1. I believe it's Section 8. Might be Section 7. But it says the Congress has to do something. The president continues to bring this up. He has some authority. He's going over that now to figure out what options he has. But in the end, these are just going to be Band-Aids until the Congress of the United States gets their arms around this thing, puts the politics aside, and does what's in the best interest of the United States of America.
You know as well as I do, David Clark, that you and I are both labeled as hothead righties when we start demanding something be done on this. I've talked to our politicians. I've talked to politicians all over the United States, and all I get is lip service or a form letter in about 4 days. The American public deserves better, but me, you, everybody, what can we do? What would you do today if you had the opportunity to really solve this problem?
Well, that's what I'm trying to do now, and that's why I said I'm a full-time foot soldier for freedom and liberty in America. What we have to do in a situation like this is we have to build a critical mass. We have to build a critical mass of people all pushing against this, all pushing at the same time, putting the heat on these people, keeping their feet to the fire. Like you said, one person here, one person there, can't do it alone, but a critical mass of Americans. We know the polling's on our side. All we need to do is continue to support this president, to continue to keep these politicians on Capitol Hill, both parties, because, like you just said, I know that I rankle some of them too, including the GOP. Oh, here comes Clark again. He's causing trouble. this guy's got some support behind him, and I wish he'd go away. Well, I'm not going away. And so my role right now is to energize the base, help mobilize the base so we can build this critical mass of people that can put the pressure on Washington, D.C. to protect this country.
We do have, and we alluded to this earlier in the interview, we do have a problem with the media and the soft sale of problems to the American public. That is something I don't know how we're going to clean up. There's only one network that really, I think, is doing a little bit above average job, and that's Fox News. But when you talk about CNN or ABC or CBS, they are lying to the public and siding with the Democrats and the liberals, saying it's not a crisis and don't worry about it.
Yeah, but the American people aren't stupid, all right? I've known this for a very long time, and one of the things I've learned in my time in politics, a rule somebody advised me on, they said, admit what people already know, all right? The public already knows about the proclivities of the liberal media to be the propaganda machine for liberal, progressive ideology for the Democrat Party. But you know what? We can't underestimate the media sources that we do have. Programs like yours. It can't just be Fox News, because like you said, a little above average. Because sometimes they disappoint me as well. But there are blogs. I write a weekly column for townhall.com. Most of those are conservative writers. So we're trying to message through things like townhall.com, other conservative blog sites. When you put all those together, talk radio across the United States, individual programs, they have a lot more listeners collectively than Fox News does. And so we need to, there's a saying, you go to war with the horses you have, not with the horses you don't have. So I don't worry about, the fact that we don't have the liberal media telling the truth, and they're always against it, so on and so forth. That stuff is true, but that whining is not going to help. So, don't underestimate the power that you have, the platform, and I want to thank you today for allowing me the use of your platform. I don't have my own. I got the townhall.com. I have my website, americasheriff.com. I'm active on social media, so I'm doing everything that I can. And if everybody gives their full effort, you'd be surprised the change that we can make in this country.
What would you tell my listeners this morning, David, on how they, myself, everybody can help you with your WeBuildTheWall.org?
Yeah, go to WeBuildTheWall.org. And like I said, we're trying to raise private money. You got to have capital to do this stuff. We're trying to raise private money to help beleaguered ranchers along the southern border. Go to the website, donate, spread that, tell other people. Brian Kolfage, the organizer of this thing, and what a true American patriot. Triple amputee as a result of a rocket attack as he was serving in Iraq. And he, took this upon himself. It's a citizen action group. He realized at the time that we were not going to be able to rely on the federal government, that it was going to take citizens banding together to help each other out. One thing you can rely on the American citizen for is to step up in a time of need and a time of crisis, like fires and floods and earthquakes, tornadoes and hurricanes. The American people always step up with their time, their donations to help other Americans, and that's what this effort is here. But we got to have donations if we're going to help those beleaguered ranchers in Arizona, California, and Texas.
Absolutely. By the way, David, as a lighter note to end our conversation, I was born and raised in a town that I know you've been in, and that's Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin.
Wow. Yeah, just to the west of Milwaukee. I think that's Jefferson County.
Yes, it is.
I'm familiar with Fort Atkinson. It's not that far away. I might be 25 minutes away from Milwaukee.
That's right. And I just want to tell you how much I've been trying to get a hold of you and get you on this program for quite some time. And I thank you. I thank you for coming on the program. And I certainly hope that you'll consent to coming back in the future. You're a great voice for this issue, and I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Zeb. Again, appreciate using your platform. Call anytime.
David Clark, a man that I have a lot of respect for, former sheriff of Milwaukee County, and outspoken, and I appreciate and applaud him for that. On the wall and the building of the wall with an organization called WeBuildTheWall.org. Thank you very much. Wow. I'm just flabbergasted as to the teamwork that it took in about 5 minutes to get the change on our program. Literally, we had a call. The bumper music was being played going into the news from CBS. And we had a call, and a gentleman said that Brian Kofage couldn't be on the program this morning. Would you mind if we had Sheriff David Clark? I've been trying to get a hold of David for a long time. This is God's way. It was God's will and God's way that it worked. And I've had nothing but respect for David Clark, and I appreciate him being on the program this morning. Wow, that worked out good. I want to remind you about Dino Septic Service. Absolutely. They'll work out good for you with all the septic tank pumping and the liquid waste removal and the sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, all of this and more. Give them a call. Give them a call, 436-6526. Or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. I can guarantee that's the truth because they've done work for us. Dino Septic Service with a big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. It's been a great morning so far. Oh, we got a sale coming up I got to talk to you about, and that's managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. It's the Hal Rogers auction, and it's going to be this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock. And when they put 11 o'clock on the poster, they go 11111. I got to kid Joe about that. Whole bunch of ones saying 11 o'clock. Saturday morning, April 6th, in Wendell. From the center of Wendell, go north to 2900 south, and then west for 4 miles, then north for a half a mile. Look for the signs. They're going to have tractors, backhoes, farm equipment, pickups, trailers, a car, milking supplies, lots of them, miscellaneous items, all of this at the Hal Rogers auction in Wendell on Saturday at 11 a.m., managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. Joe Bennett and the crew, they sell them all. Absolutely. Let's see, we did this and we did this, and coming up next hour, another very interesting gentleman, and that's going to be Dan Subotnick talking about toxic diversity. Don't go away. Wheels, you did a great job, buddy. Congratulations. Take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And welcome back into the last half hour. I feel like I've just run the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness all in the last half hour trying to get everything done. And I want to also thank somebody else. I want to thank Deanne, my lovely bride of 47 short years, for the way she jumped in and helped me get the change and transition of the guests on the calls and everything. It was phenomenal. Thank you very much. I want to remind you that the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce is going to have that big Women's Expo coming up on April 24th at the Burley Best Western Inn and Convention Center, starting at 9 in the morning, going till 4 in the afternoon. Hidden gems, explore, engage, empower, something for everybody. So call the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce right now and find out more. And it's sponsored by the Idaho Central, Intermountain Cassia Regional Hospital, and Wright Physical Therapy and Tailored Living. All of this and more. We want to give a great big shout out to the Women's Expo 2019. There you go. I am going to go to the next guest. Hopefully they're on the phone. Wheels, what's the prognosis?
Well, since we got that number changed, he's on the phone for you.
Okay. And by the way, we'll take the blame for that change of numbers over here. There was a transfer of one paper to another paper to another paper, and it's not your fault. Thank you very much.
One of the gremlins got in the middle of the
many gremlins. Wow. I've had this gentleman on before, and I'm looking forward to talking to him again. He's a professor of law, and he's also the author of the book Toxic Diversity, Race, Gender, and Law, Talking America. Good morning, Dan Subotnick. How are you?
Good morning. Nice to be here, and I hope you're well.
Oh, I'm doing 150 miles an hour right now this morning, Dan. Give us a little background of your book, Toxic Diversity. I can't wait to hear again what it basically encompasses.
I've been a law teacher for over 35 years now, and I've scrutinized the terrain for race and gender commentary. And over the years, I came to the conclusion that I just couldn't believe the people who were writing, both on race and in gender, and on gender. And so I decided I was going to put it to the test and research the terrain more carefully and write it up. And so I published this book, published by New York University, and it's very hard to write this stuff. There are a lot of people who get very upset and uptight about race and gender issues, and I've had a hell of a time, but I've enjoyed myself in the process, and thanks to people like you, there is an audience for materials like this, and so I'm thanking you.
Well, Dan, let me break this down a little bit for you, if you could help me on this. When you say it's hard to write about race and gender issues, and I'm a simple person, I'm just a simple old cowboy, and bear with me on these questions, but when I talk about race issues, when I talk about race or gender issues, it's pretty much cut and dried in my mindset, but what makes it so difficult to talk about today?
Well, my latest work has to do with sexual assault and materials like the Kavanaugh hearings and whether women ought to be believed up front. There's a movement that's growing called Start by Believing, and I'm responding to this this group of people. From my standpoint, it's not right to believe women up front, that women sex is psychologically very taxing on many people, not all people, enough people to be worried about. And as a result, you've got to be careful when you accept testimony from people in cases of sexual assault. It's hard to say this. The feminists will jump down my throat when I say this, but I have said it, and I've said it publicly. And I think your readers ought to know about this. And look, I'm a guy, and it's maybe scary to take this information from a guy. But let me quote a little bit from a woman who's written on the subject. Her name is Joan Howarth, and she was a dean at a Michigan law school, Michigan State Law School, and sat in on panels adjudicating these cases of sexual assault over a number of years. She's the only person that I know who has done this. The only law professor I know who has done this, who's actually sat in on these things. And here's what she says, and this should be very interesting to your readers. She expected, when she got into this business, thinking and adjudicating cases of sexual assault, she expected widespread comfort with sexuality and confidence in seeking sexual pleasure. But what she discovered, she says, was seemingly bottomless pits of shame about sexuality. Many highly accomplished women suffer from sexual identities that are painfully constrained and fearful. That's strong stuff. And then she goes on. Why are they bringing these cases? They're bringing these cases in enough cases, not in all cases, to vindicate honor, to provide safety from a third party, maybe a boyfriend or something, to reinforce identities of sexual innocence. Maybe their actions conflicted with the kinds of values that they were raised in Sunday school. Protect young women from falling from someone's grace, from falling from good to slut. Very strong stuff by the only person who's ever examined this carefully. Actually, the only person who's ever written about this that I have been able to find. And then she goes on and she says, "We believe you" does not translate fairly into individual adjudication. So that was my message. That was my message at the beginning. It's still my message. We must hear women out when they come forward. But the idea of believing them up front, given these psychological realities, is just not right.
Let me ask you, Dan.
I'm the only person to say this, but there are enough people on the ground who will resist to the death this kind of commentary that giving you over the phone.
Dan, let me state two completely different cases, and I'd like you to talk about and amplify the differences in these cases. Number one, the Duke lacrosse team, when they were accused of rape. Then, on the other hand, the Bill Cosby story. There are two different stories I'd like you to relate to.
Well, the Duke rape case was an absolute fiasco. I've written about this. there was never any evidence of any physical contact between Magnum, I think her name is Magnum, M-A-G-N-U-M, and the boys, the lacrosse boys. Nothing. And the university jumped on the bandwagon, the sexual assault bandwagon, and hounded them for a few years. The boys happily came out okay because they won, I think, a total of $20 million from Duke at the time. So they came out okay, but it was really a disaster that the university would jump on this case when there was no evidence whatsoever connecting the boys to a physical assault. Now, that's with respect. That's with respect to the Duke lacrosse case. As far as Cosby, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Well, when I say Bill Cosby, let me jump in and tell you my reasoning for bringing this up. We had so many people accuse Bill Cosby of certain things regarded to be a sexual predator, etc. But the media, because Bill Cosby was America's dad per se, they didn't want to believe all the charges. So it was kind of a reverse story.
But they didn't want to believe the charges at the outset, and then they had to.
Yes.
And I don't know that anybody now says that he was innocent. I mean, I think he actually confessed.
Yeah.
Juicing up one of the drinks of the women, and I think that's why he's in jail now.
But I think you would concur with me, Dan.
It was hard to take in. America's dad in the first instance. He got the benefit of the doubt. But then, particularly in the wake of the Me Too movement, the tide turned against him, and he lost his supporters, almost all of them.
Yes. I think you would agree with me, though, Dan, and you're the law professor, and I'm just nothing more than a talk show cowboy, but I think that a rush to judgment by the media in any and all cases, they try and they convict in the media just to get the ratings, and I think that's what we've got to solve.
I think that's true. The activists in this area go wild, and the reason they do is out of a feeling that the women have been treated badly in the courts, which is to say, and actually in pre-court proceedings by the DAs and the cops, they've been treated badly, and as a result, their cases don't come to any kind of happy solution. I found by talking to one of my cop friends that only about 30% of the complaints in his district end up in arrests. I'm not talking about conviction. I'm talking about arrests. So there's a certain amount of frustration on the part of the women activists. They want to get the ball rolling, but to go to the other extreme and say we're going to believe you up front, given the psychological stuff that I talked about at the beginning of this conversation. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's really it's for too many women. Sex is a trauma, even though they go forward with it. Even though they get drunk, they go to the guy's room, they lie down in the guy's bed, and then 6 weeks later, their friends persuade them that they were actually sexually attacked, and they should bring charges, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
In too many cases, not all cases, not even in most cases. I want to make that clear. But in too many cases, that's the story. And so the question is, under those circumstances, should we start by believing women? And I think the answer to that is no. We hear their cases, and that's what the police will tell you all the time. Cases are heard, and then there's a question of proof. A major question of proof. The girl says, I was raped. The guy says it was consensual. There were no witnesses there. The girl put herself in a position where there were no witnesses, and the girl was not strong enough to run or call for help or whatever. And it's hard to run this past a judicial system that wants to start with a presumption of innocence. So the solution then is, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the solution is women ought to be made aware of the fact that it's going to be very difficult for them to protect themselves, much as the court system would like. If they get drunk, go to the guy's room, start messing around with the guy, and then a week, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months later, turn on the guy and say, I was assaulted.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you touched on it briefly, but I want you to elaborate a little bit. I got about 4 minutes left in this interview. But the concept and the precept of law in this country has been that you are innocent until proven guilty. And now it's changed, and it's evolved into you're guilty. You go prove yourself innocent. Can we turn that back the way it should be?
Oh, I think we can. There's pushback by people like me. There are whole organizations. SAVE is one of them. That is devoted to pushing back against this, and you can see that all of this action in Washington, because there have been some hearings on some Department of Education policies, and they have come in, and a whole bunch of other people, law professors and all kinds of others, have weighed in to make sure that the guys are getting justice in these cases.
Let me also ask you quickly, in the time
back by saying I am not a sexist. Or I'm not a sexist. What happened was, for a long time, men, particularly men, but women also, would back off when the charge of sexism was made. People would back off and not confront the issue directly because the women were highly excitable about this, and I understand that. But backing off is not the solution to anything.
That's right. Let me ask you finally, I've got just a little time left, and I've got to have you respond because you are a law professor. Have you ever seen anything that was so farcical as to what happened in Chicago with the letting off of Jesse Smollett on 16 felony charges?
Yeah, I have absolutely no explanation for that. It is farcical. And I don't know what to say. Related to that is what is a very common practice when a woman comes forward and makes a false accusation against a guy. It's rare that she's prosecuted. The woman in the Duke rape case was not prosecuted.
That's right.
She got the country into an uproar. She was not prosecuted, and I think she's in jail for murder or attempted murder now. But she was not prosecuted at the time. That's insane.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, but I want to find out a little bit more about the book, Toxic Diversity, Race, Gender, and Law Talk in America. Where can people find your book?
You can get it on Amazon, and if you want more specific treatment of sexual assault, I wrote an article called "Why Not Believe Women in Sexual Assault Cases" that I published in the Turo Law Review. It's online. Your readers can get it very easily. Why not believe women in sexual assault cases?
I want to thank you for taking the time. Always entertaining to have you and informative on the program. Dan Subotnick, thank you so much. God bless and come back soon. Thank you.
And thank you very much. A pleasure.
You betcha, sir. Thank you. Very interesting gentleman talking about race, gender, and law talk in America. Toxic diversity is what's going on, and basically the concept of, no, now you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. It's changed. It's really, really changed. I know one thing that hasn't changed, and that's the weather forecast. And you've got to listen to this right now. We're going to find out where we're all going to meet probably a Saturday morning and build the ark. Scarrows Meats brings you the weather this hour at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats. I mean delicious meats. Pork ribs, tri-tips, bacons of all different kinds, breakfast sausages, bratwurst, my favorite. Come on over, Scarrow, and visit. Bring the brats with you. Don't forget Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Delicious meats. Right now, caller, stand by caller, because here's Gina with the weather.
Finally hitting midweek, and we are still expecting some more precipitation as we make our way towards the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Expecting scattered showers off and on throughout the day. Thunderstorms are a possibility this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 23 miles an hour. Looking at a high of 57 today. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Partly sunny, at least for part of the day tomorrow. Then by tomorrow afternoon, maybe some rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 62, 40% chance of rain showers for tomorrow night with a low of 43 as we hit Friday. Again, slight chance of rain showers, about a 40% chance, expecting a high of 60 with an overnight low of 40, and then 30% chance of rain showers for Saturday and a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
Oh, Gina, thank you. And brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, delicious meats. And it goes along with the tagline, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time from Scarrow's Meats. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. Referring to your caller in the last half hour about the border and such. Now, there's a man that we can all get behind. We can get on his train. He's willing to lead and go forward. So everybody who calls in and says, what can we do? Well, we can join him and get going. And kind of, like he says, form a critical mass to show the support that the president needs to get this done. That's what we can do.
Absolutely.
The Dems have been doing it all along.
Absolutely.
The Republicans.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I want to just say this, that having Sheriff David Clark on our program was a real treat for me. But the point that I think both David and myself made is that I get sick and tired of hearing politicians say, I. I want to hear politicians say, we. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say that, because I want to see a coalition. I want to see power groups that are going to demand that something gets done.
Exactly, and he's got one going, and if more people, instead of just calling in and saying, what can we do, get busy and do what he said, join everything, and I'm not on the media, so I won't do that, but I can write and call. But, I mean, come on, people, there's that person out there we've all been waiting to kind of get going. And he said he used your platform, so he's kind of a smart guy. I think we should all kind of get in there.
I agree with you, and I want to personally say thank you to you for calling in, and God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. She's right. Do something. Get involved. Every day on this program, I ask you to do something and get involved. I'm still taking heat because I've criticized the ministerial associations and the pastors in general for not getting involved. I'm giving them an opportunity to come on my program and nobody calls. One man, one pastor and twin at the Baptist Church. One. What is the matter with people getting involved? I still go back to a story that just makes the back of my hair stand up and get mad. Is about a year and a half ago. We were talking about a subject that I asked and begged for people to get involved and make their voices heard. And a guy called on the air and he said, well, Zeb, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that? And then why don't you call so-and-so? And I lost it. I just basically lost it and said, well, what in the hell are you doing? It's not just me. It's not just my radio program. It's not just any radio program. It's people involved in the community, all the communities, the states, etc., to get something done. Instead of pointing the finger at people like me, oh, well, you're in the media. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? It's kind of like that commercial on TV where somebody says, well, I need to get a backyard fixed with a new fence. Do you know any good contractors? And he puts it on his neighbor. Do it yourself and get involved. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they're having a great big spring tire sale right now, and you can stop into any one of the 7 locations. Big spring tire sale for your car tires, pickup tires, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever the case might be. Check it out and drive safely. And don't forget, along with that, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this, but service always reigns supreme. They really take care of you at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, of course, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the major sponsor of this program, Zeb at the Ranch. Wow, big program tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all the callers. Thank you to all the guests. I mean, what a home run this was. Dave Beagle, Veronica Hinkey, Sheriff David Clark. Wanted to get him on for a long time. Dan Subotnick, great show. And thank you, everybody. Tomorrow, we'll be back here riding the horse at 8:06 until 11 right on Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, don't forget, we always say when we wrap up the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Until tomorrow morning, God bless you and your family. We'll see you then.